I learned from my mistakes. I can't come to my clients and say I was a big success and now be like me, but I can say, I know what I did wrong and I can help you avoid that. So those are two things that are really important in writing a good patent. Understanding the technology and understanding the business. And we try to do both of those things.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today we're talking about patent creation, invention, protection of innovation. And we're talking with Daniel Kligler, who's been doing this for quite some time with a very interesting pivot in his life. Daniel is the senior partner at Kligler & Associates Patent Attorneys. He has a doctorate in electrical engineering from Stanford University, and before becoming a patent attorney, he was a founder, inventor, and manager in 2 high-tech startups. He has a law degree and is licensed as a patent attorney in both Israel and the US, and since the founding of Kligler & Associates in 2008, clients of the firm have been acquired for a cumulative total of more than $20 billion. The firm specializes in deep tech, computers, communications, electronics, AI, and high-end medical devices, with clients ranging from startups through unicorn ventures to Fortune 500 companies. Talking about deep technology and patents and finding one's passion and finding the right career path, especially in today's world where we have so many different opportunities and so many different things that this new generation can do. It's a really interesting question as to how do we know what we want to do and how do we know when we've sort of found something that will fulfill us. So Daniel, tell me a little bit about yourself and sort of your trajectory coming into the patent world.
Okay. Well, I started out as an electrical engineer and an inventor. Mm-hmm. I was in academia for a while. I was involved in 2 startup companies, neither of which did very well, which is why I'm no longer in that world. But in the second company, I was the VP R&D, and I was responsible, among other things, for our patent portfolio. And we had great patents. We were in digital video before the field really developed. And I thought, well, we have great patents. We'll for sure be successful. But we weren't, because we didn't really understand that patents aren't everything, that you need to fit in the patents with your market. The patents need to serve your strategy. That was an important lesson. And the other important lesson for me was that as the person responsible for the patents, I got to know our patent attorney very well. And when I left the company and I was looking for what to do next, he invited me to come and train to be a patent attorney in his firm. And at first, I thought about it for a long time, because my impression of patents as an inventor was that they were terrible, boring, hard to read. I couldn't imagine it would be interesting, but I said, well, what the hell? I need to do something new. And so I went and started training as a patent attorney. And it took about 2 weeks to realize that this was the job that was made for me, that I'd been in the wrong career, and that what really interested me was being a patent attorney. It's a great job because you get exposed to all different sorts of technologies. And for someone like me, who's a technology jock, who just loves the new technologies, you get exposed to the most advanced things from the people who are leading in the fields. And so it's endlessly interesting. I can see after 25 years in the job, it's still interesting. It's also a lot of writing and a lot of work. It's not for lazy people, but lazy's never been my problem. And so that's it. Yeah.
Daniel, maybe you can then give me take me back to sort of when you were introduced to patents as sort of something that you may want to pursue as a career, right? So you're talking about this this change that you've had in the mindset, you've thought about them in one way, now you're thinking about them in a different way. I'm guessing that most people around the world are still in that older bucket, right, of pre-transition. Share with me a little bit about what changed in your perspective about patents. Why are they something that you're so curious about and interested in, and something that's so fulfilling for you?
Well, let me start by saying that the majority of patents are just not good. They're written by people who don't really understand what they're writing. There's a joke about patent attorneys. A patent attorney is someone who can write 40 pages about something he doesn't understand at all. And so when technical people read them, they think, well, this is supposed to be incomprehensible, but that's not true. A good patent starts off with good technical writing. It starts out with understanding the technology, because if you don't understand the technology, then your patent isn't going to create the kind of value that you want it to create. The point of a patent is to capture your technology, your strategic technology, in a way that you can monopolize and keep your competitors from copying you. Make them have to work around you, make them have to adopt inferior solutions. So to do that, you need to know what you're writing. You need to understand how to write the patent. And then you need to understand how to explain it to the examiner in the patent office.
Right.
So those are things that I think are it's one of my advantages in the job. One of the advantages of our firm is that I'm a technology person. And the other is that I have business experience. I learned from my mistakes. I can't come to my clients and say, I was a big success, now be like me, but I can say, I know what I did wrong and I can help you avoid that. So those are two things that are really important in writing a good patent: understanding the technology and understanding the business. And we try to do both of those things.
So what could be a strong impact of having a good patent? You mentioned that most patents today are bad, but what could be a good result of having a good patent? And maybe if you can have some examples of ways in which good patents were useful for an organization or an individual, that will be helpful.
Sure. I think best if I just give some examples from my own experience.
Sure.
One of the clients that I most enjoyed working with was PrimeSense. They developed the first compact, cheap consumer 3D camera. If you remember the Microsoft Kinect, this was this game console with a 3D camera built into it. So Microsoft knew they had in their strategic plan that they wanted to build this 3D camera, this 3D console. They acquired two companies with 3D technologies and tried to build this camera themselves, and they failed. And this group of young guys in PrimeSense had figured out a new way to build a small, cheap, and very reliable 3D camera. And we got great patents for them. Patents that pretty well closed off their particular approach. Now, there are other approaches, right? Microsoft tried other approaches and failed. But PrimeSense managed to protect their approach very well. When Microsoft went to build the first generation Kinect, they had to buy their cameras from PrimeSense. And then after that, Microsoft went off and did something else. But then Apple came along looking for 3D camera solutions. And they eventually bought PrimeSense for, I think it was $450 million roughly. A lot on the strength of their patents, which now belong to Apple. And I can't really talk too much about it, but press reports say that those patents are still in use today. So that's a good example of how a patent can protect a company. Basically, when you're a small company, if you're successful, the big players are just going to see what they can do to kick you out of the way. If you've got good patents, it becomes more expensive for them to try to work around you than to buy you. So they buy you. We've had some really big acquisitions in the history of our clients. So that's one example. Another example is Mellanox, whom I started working with them shortly after they were founded back. This was more than 20 years ago. And they had this idea to make these super fast communication adapters. They had the insight that the day would come when the limit on computing speed was not the computers themselves, but how fast you could get data in and out. And they were among the pioneers in that area. They make the fastest they still make the fastest communication adapters in the world. Now with Mellanox, there's not one particular patent that distinguishes them, but they've over the years built up a big and very strong patent portfolio, very dominant position in the industry, which I think was one of the reasons why NVIDIA bought them for as much money as they did. So those are a couple of examples.
I love it. I want you to take me into your own day-to-day in your own life. And so you sort of mentioned to me before we started the call that this was, you almost realize this is a calling for you. This is what you were intended to do. Tell me a little bit about that and why this work speaks directly to Daniel Kligler. Why is this your passion?
Well, one reason that I already mentioned was that I'm a technology jock. I just love learning about new technologies. And, as a patent attorney, I get paid to do that. I get paid to talk to the smartest people there are in high-tech industry and to have them teach me how their technologies work. So that's a great thing. The other thing that really speaks to me is the entrepreneurial side. As someone who's been there and understands what entrepreneurs are going through, that possibility to help these people along the road, to give them a perspective that they don't have about the intellectual property side of their business and how it fits into their business strategy. That's very rewarding for me. These people, almost all of them, by now are younger than me. And, so it's a very specific sort of, I could almost call it mentoring that I really enjoy. And seeing my clients' success is just very rewarding for me. It's satisfying for me as though it were my own success. Although I'll say that, we don't take shares in any of our clients. There's some firms who do. It's something that we've consciously not done because I don't want anyone to come in here and feel like he's a second-class client because I have shares in this other client, but he's just paying me by the hour. So we want clients. Once one of my clients told me that even though he's a small company, he feels sometimes like he's our only client. And that's how I want the clients to feel, like they have all our attention. No one is the big ones aren't more important to us than the little ones. And that's also a great thing, a great feeling of satisfaction to help someone move along his idea and see his business develop.
Phenomenal. Now, if we're looking now at companies and founders, engineers, inventors, what are some of the big things that we need to keep in mind as we're, creating these inventions, and how do we balance patent creation into our daily life, especially as this is something that, like you're mentioning, a lot of people don't really know how to do well. So how do we position ourselves to be successful with protecting our inventions in today's world?
Yeah, that's a very good and very difficult question because entrepreneurs and also engineers in going concerns are always overworked. Their attention is torn in many different directions. And an engineer will naturally want to spend his time developing the product. And how, for him to have to spend time on a patent application is a big distraction. He doesn't want to have to do that. And besides, as I said before, patents are boring. At least to the engineer they are. To the engineer, what's fun is inventing. The patent is already a distraction. So The entrepreneur needs to consciously set aside a certain fraction of his attention. Investors will insist that he does, because investors know that patents create long-lasting value. Patents will add to the company's valuation, and so that's one place that patents get pushed up in priority. The other thing we try to do is to reduce the load on inventors. That's difficult. There's also a trade-off there. We need to get inventors to tell us as much information as they can, because more information makes a better patent. But on the other hand, we know inventors are busy. So we also try to help clients prioritize. We try to talk to them and understand together with them which patents are important, which are going to give them a strategic advantage, which are just nice to have. How many patents do you want to file this year? And then how do you choose the ones that you're going to file? So it's an interactive process, and we try to get the information from our clients, help clients understand without taking too much of their time. That's a big challenge.
Fantastic. Now, as we transition into feels like a new world where, and let's look at software, for example, as a vertical, and artificial intelligence and deep learning, where we have a lot of different researchers doing a lot of different things in parallel. We're seeing, for example, natural language processing. We're seeing the fight for, the bigger models and different papers coming out. How do we even know what is defensible in a patented way and what is not in today's world? Is everything defensible, or are there different set criteria that we can judge by?
That's actually an excellent question. And since you mentioned artificial intelligence, it's one of the really difficult areas to get patents, and to get patents that are worth anything. A big problem in there are two issues with patents. One is, can you convince the patent office to give you a patent? And if you've got a good patent attorney, usually you can. The other is, will you actually be able to tell them if your competitors are copying or using your patent? And when it comes to AI, that's really hard, because most of the secret sauce is buried deep in the code. You don't know what's going on in there. You won't be able to tell if your competitors are using the algorithm that you invented and patented. And so it's very important in those worlds not only to find things that are actually a technological advance and can be protected, but also find things that are detectable. And so that's one of the questions I always ask inventors. How are you going to be able to tell if your competitor is doing this? And often there's a way. I've got a client, a company called Nanit. They make crib cameras. Everybody who has babies these days has a crib camera. But what's smart about Nanit is that they use AI to analyze the parent's interaction with the baby in the crib and give the parent tips. So we got them some good patents on that, because why is it a good patent? Well, it uses AI, but it uses AI to capture it, also to analyze what the parent is doing. And so now there's something external, something that we can see that's outside the heart of the software, that if a competitor does it, we have a pretty good job of catching them. That's one example of AI. Another example, Gong, makes these tremendously successful systems for analyzing salespeople in call centers. They use NLP to track the subjects in the conversations of the salespeople, and then they compare the conversation patterns of the successful salespeople to the less successful salespeople, and that way they're able to extract tips to guide the less successful salespeople. So again, here's AI, but it's AI that comes out with something external detectable. Now, I mean, Gong is a huge, huge success, and it's mostly not because of their patents. But on the other hand, the fact that they have the patents gives them a leg up, and they're a really big company already, but when the giant companies come along, so, it's another reason why they have to deal with Gong.
Incredible. Daniel, I really appreciate your time, your energy, this is your own trajectory from inventor to doing this and continuing to work with inventors and being so curious about all the different things you're doing. And you're obviously so excited about, these inventions, but the way that you're then implementing them into the real world through your own personal stories from before and your personal experiences. So thank you very, very much for your time and for your effort. And I look forward to continue following your work and diving deeper into patents myself. So thank you, and stay safe and stay healthy.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.